Raja is in Sampris. I'm not in Sampris right now. So Raja is operating the studio alone. Studio. Sampris studio. Right. So, Samir, if you're ready, you can start share your screen.
Okay.
Maybe you start introducing yourself first so that we get to know you better.
Yes, bro. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Yeah. First of all, let me introduce. Good morning. How are you?
Doing well.
Good, good. We're happy, yeah.
Thanks, good.
First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Samer. Again, I'm from Jordan. I have master degree in international political economy from Yarmouk University. I previously worked in many research and studies center in my country in the field of economic policies as a researcher assistant. Then I moved to reside in the state of Qatar to work as a freelancer, as a teacher in the field international political economy. I am very happy to join the USM University, and I wish for all success in your PhD journey. Now, I will try to share.
You know where the share button is?
Yeah, I will try to share
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, bro. Just wait 1 minute, please.
No problem. Putri should win the award for the most punctual or early, the earliest attendant. Oh yeah, I forgot. You're always there, Raji. You're the person who is always there.
Yeah, bro.
Okay.
I want to talk about my topic. The impact of the Silk Road and Chinese economic diplomacy in the Middle East. Case study at this moment, case study Saudi Arabia, Israel, Qatar. Maybe next time change, I don't know at this moment.
Good.
Okay. Okay. About the background of the study, sorry, I'm very sorry.
All right. Just enjoy your presentation. Yeah. Okay.
About background of the study, the Silk Road is one of the most prominent trade routes historical, as it dates back to the second century. It is the same road that China tried to revive, and what has become officially known as the Belt and Road Initiative. An initiative that in turn has become a major economic diplomacy in China's foreign policy toward various countries around the world, including the Middle East. At the beginning of the 19th century, China began to study the possibility of reviving the historical Silk Road, as it was the main expression of the economic diplomacy to expand its global pre-sales, which was manifest at that time with the Eurasia Bridge Project. However, under Chinese President Xi Jinping, another new project abroad in 2013, the New Silk Road Project, which became officially known as the Belt and Road Initiative. Accordingly, the Belt and Road Initiative has now become the modern expression of the historic Silk Road, and researchers call it the New Silk Road Initiative, as this initiative has become China's economic diplomacy, through which Beijing seeks to strengthen its global asking paths. That's the background of the study. I will try to clear it about the statement of a problem. This study comes to
move your slide. Go to the next slide.
Yeah. Okay, now the statement of a problem. The study comes to examine the nature of the Silk Road in general, and to identify the nature of the Chinese initiative known as the Silk Road. Further, it seeks to identify the nature of the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, and to investigate how China employs this initiative as an economic diplomacy and the impact of that diplomacy on the nature of the Chinese foreign policies from a purely political point of view in general, and their impact on the nature of the Chinese political position on one of the most prominent international conflict and disputes, the Palestine-Israel conflict, and the Chinese position on the Saudi-Iranian Gulf competition in particular. A researcher about the researcher question. The main problem of the studies stems from a main question. The main question: how important is the Middle East to China, and what are China's interests and goals in the Middle East? What is the impact of the Belt and Road diplomacy? Example, the diplomacy of the Silk Road on Chinese foreign policy. We can drive several questions. What is the Silk Road, and how did the Belt and Road Initiative become the new expression of the historical Silk Road? Or how did it become an expression of the new Silk Road? What is its geographical scope? How does China use the Belt and Road Initiative as an economic diplomacy in its general quest to expand is international and global influence. What is the impact of the of Silk Road diplomacy as an economic diplomacy on China's foreign policy and its international political stances? About research objective. About research objective, Prof, and in terms of the main objective.
Samuel, can you go back to your research question again?
Research?
Can you go back to the previous slide? The research questions. I missed the third one. The impact of research on economic diplomacy on. Okay. Right. All right. All right. Okay. Continue.
Okay. About research objectives. In terms of the main objectives of the study, it can be said that there are multiple objectives, the most important of which are introducing the historical Silk Road and how it developed in what is now known as the Belt and Road Initiative. Second one, discussing and clarifying how China uses the Belt and Road Initiative as an economic diplomacy in its foreign policies, and in terms of the general philosophy, tools, and results of this diplomacy. Third, clarifying the impact of China's Silk Road diplomacy on its international political attitude, in particular, its attitude towards some Middle East issues, example, the Palestinian issues and the Iranian-Saudi competitions, as example, through which we try to demonstrate the impact of Chinese economic diplomacy on its international attitude. Now, significance of the study. The significance of the study, the importance of the study, and it is a theoretical aspect, stems from the fact that it seeks to define the nature of Silk Road diplomacy as the main diplomacy that greatly affects the nature of Chinese foreign policies. And the nature of its attitude toward various international conflicts, and on top of it, with regard the Middle East, the natural Chinese attitude toward the Israel-Palestinian conflict, the natural attitude toward the Saudi-Iranian competition, and Chinese maintenance of a positive relation with these parties. On the other hand, the importance of the study lies in its practical aspect, in that it seeks to serve as a guide or as a step that can be used by the Arabs in the way necessary for the nature of dealing with China. In other words, the study can present recommendation on how to deal with China in a pragmatic manner, which would guarantee the Arab-Chinese political support, as it is one of the most prominent countries with the qualitative political weight internationally. Uh, Prof and my colleagues, my topic is still under study. And there will be a lot of modifications and additions. And I am still searching to have a clear vision and about what I will write in the first chapter as the central unit of each research.
So this is your. So okay, welcome. Good, good. Well done, well done. Say, so this is the end of your presentation today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Samir. Okay. So now what we somebody else is coming in. Oh, okay. What we usually have is for the proposal, you have it until the methodology, right? You have it until methodology. But however, that said, because this is the first one, this is the first presentation, it's more like an introduction to your work, more introduction to you, and I understand that many supervisors would not get students to make their presentation in the first or second meeting, right? So this is the first meeting we had was much more informal, but at that time you already presented your ideas and your work to me. But what we plan to do with our group supervision, is that there are two main things we are doing, well, more than two. Well, one is that we want to focus straight away, and this is true for those of you who have just registered, like you, Samir, and those who are in the middle, in fact, at the end as well. Straight away go to what I call the compass of the research, right? The direction of the research. So sometimes students are being advised to read and read and read first, literature review, right? So what happens when students go into the literature, they get submerged, they get drowned by the ocean of knowledge, and then the currents that lead them to go this way, and then the other currents lead them to go that way, and then that direction is not clear. And from the beginning, I'll get all our students, all of you, to think about the direction, right? And to build your compass. What is your compass? Your compass is your research questions. So all research is about answering research questions. So the idea is that if you can build a compass, a set of research questions that are clear, right? The research questions that are clear, that can fill a theoretical gap or conceptual gap, right? That is not being explained by a previous literature or studies before. And then those research questions can lead you to access the data, and you have the data, and then the findings, you interpret the analysis, and then once you have your analysis, you will demonstrate that you have answered the research questions, right? And ultimately, if the research questions are being brought to a PhD level, and you have answered all your research questions, you have completed your PhD. So the research questions are actually the compass. So what we want to do from the beginning until the end is about being clear about the research questions. And of course, we have the title and all that, but the title will evolve, right? The title will evolve from the beginning and maybe until the end. I was examining a student, I think last week, at the end, the title changed again, and you might think this is the title, but the examiner say, well, this should be the title, so you will have to accept a title that's different. So the title is a working title from the beginning until the end, but the research questions are yours. So the research questions is actually the most fundamental, the most foundational to to your research. You want to say something somewhere?
Thank you.
Okay, no, all right.
Just I'm right, not what you.
You just
you
right.
said.
Okay, okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right. If you're not sure, we stream this one, and then you can watch at the YouTube as well later on. So you can review what I said many times. Right?
Yeah, good.
Okay. And then Raja will share the. So Raja is helping us to with the streaming as well. Raja is in Sampris right now. I'm not in Sampris. So he's in Sampris studio right now. Nilam. No? Now let's go back to your presentation, yeah, Samir. Can you go back to your previous slide? Let's start from the beginning then. Start from the beginning. Start from the beginning. Okay, good. Let's start from the beginning. The beginning there. Your title. Your title. Start with your title. Slide number 1. Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's look at the title itself, and then I'm glad that you pointed out at the very beginning that you're open to different evolutions and transformation and changes to your research, right? So and your title is an impact of the Silk Road and Chinese economic diplomacy in the Middle East, a case study of Saudi Arabia, Israel, in Qatar, right? So you put in a bracket. Now, in defining the scope of the research, right, it is important to note that the research has a beginning and an end. And that beginning and the end is confined by a number of things. One most important thing is the time, right? So you will need to assess your time resource, how much time do you have to cover the topic that you want to cover, right? So you want to, so that in a way the title is dependent on the time you have. The more time you have, you can have a bigger scope. The second thing is access to data, right? So the title will also, in a way, shape the type of data that you want to access. Um, you do want to think about accessing the data, whether you can get the data that you want or not, right? So that is also a way to think about what title you want to have. But we will go to the essence of your research, which is your research question, right? So the next one, the next slide. Oh, talking about the title, I'm not sure I've shared this with you. Many years ago, one of a student from Iran came and wanted to do his PhD on Middle East peace, right? I think I told you that, right? Middle East peace. That's the. His name is Mirza. I said, Mirza, are you serious? You want to do PhD on Middle East peace, right? It's a huge topic. It's probably one of the most, is the biggest conflict.
Big problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the biggest conflict, or one of the biggest conflict in the world, right? And he was, the whole of Middle East. I mean, Middle East is a huge area, right? So eventually, he was open and he evolved into something else, and then becomes a religious nationalism and much more focused now. So he has graduated. He's Dr. Merzat right now. He's in Germany. So so the scope is also, in this case, we are looking at countries, right? So the scope is important. That said, since you're studying BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, right? China's BRI, and the scope is even bigger than the Middle East, right? It ranges from Far East. I do not like that word because Far East is very much Eurocentric, right? Because Far East only far if you're in Europe, right? If you're in Russia, China is just next door. It's not Far East, it's next door, right? If you're in Japan, China is not, it's Japan, China, Korea, South Korea, North Korea, those countries are considered Far East. To us, it's not Far East, it's just from Southeast Asia, it's just north of Southeast Asia, it's not too far away. So this is wrong conception of Far East. But then something that you want to maybe discuss later on. The point I want to note is that this is a huge project of China, and it's a huge topic, right? The Belt and Road Initiative from China up to Europe and covering basically all of Asia and definitely Middle East. Maybe not all of Middle East. Depending on how you define Middle East, you want to go to Egypt, Libya, Morocco, and how far you want to go there. Definitely Africa. So it's a huge project. It's an important topic. Doesn't mean that if it's huge, you not study it. It's a huge topic. So you must take note that in your literature review to talk about the scale of this BRI, right? It's a huge project by China. Now let's go to your the fact that you give a map. So map will give you immediately a picture of a visual of what you're studying, right? So maybe if you're next time when we talk about your research, maybe you want to put a circle around where you're researching, right? What is your so you are talking about Qatar, Iraq or Saudi? Forgot now.
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia and Israel. So you can put a circle. I'm studying this part, right? So it gives you the context of where you study. So let's go to your the slide, the third slide after the map. Okay. So a background study. A few things I want to note, right? Okay. Sounds like Pravina to me. Okay. Now, in a number of things about slide, right? Okay. You want to make sure that the language. I'm not gonna make any language corrections here, but you want to make sure the language, the grammar, the spelling, the names, so that, like the Chinese President Xi Jinping there. The S should be big, so certain things should be double check, right? So you do not want to give the impression that that the presentation is sloppy and presentation hasn't been reviewed, right? So you want to make sure that you have all those things, minor things checked. It is not the most important thing. However, that said, during the viva, during the oral defense, right, there are different examiners, and some examiners would examine based on their own personality trait. So if their personality trait, they are very anal retentive type, but they will look at the small things and look at the commas and the eyes and dots and all that. So to them, it annoys them. So we do not want to have that kind of thing during the viva, during the oral defense, right? So just be clear about that one. Okay, the background of study, I think you laid out the background well. It might evolve into something else as you sharpen, you clarify your research question. The background study might also shift, but this one is good. You give the idea of the scope of your study. You give the idea of the historical origins, right? And certainly it's something that is huge to cover, but so the background study when it comes to presentation, right? The most you want to give is maybe one or two, right? Not too many in your background, meaning slides, right? Maybe you want to give 2 slides. 3 will be too many, but I've seen people have 3 background of study, 3 of them, but then we will go through the process later on when you make your actual presentation to the Samples Committee, right? But maybe limiting it to 1 or 2 would be sufficient. So this is good. This is good, yeah? So move to the next slide. Move to the next slide. Okay. Statement of problem. You said this study comes to examine the nature of the Silk Road in general and to identify the nature of the Chinese initiative known as the Silk Road. So what you do with your statement of problem is that you are actually kind of identifying your research questions more or less in the statement of problem. So statement of problem is actually to highlight the problematization, the research problematization. When we say research problematization, we're referring to how this study will be an advancement to knowledge, how the previous studies have not covered what you want to cover, and what is what you want to talk about the current state right now, the current state of knowledge, the current state of understanding, and then you want to talk about how the current state is actually a problem because there's certain research problems that have not been addressed. So you want to talk about your statement problem. Statement problem can be more than one slide if you need to, but I would not go more than 2 slides, right? So you can even talk about statement problem. You can talk about 1, 2, 3. You can divide it like that as well. It's up to you how you want to creatively design this one, right? What you have right now is that you talk about, and then this study comes to examine, by the way, the language there you will need to improve. Yeah, that's a bit problematic too. The nature of Silk Road in general. So that is, it sounds more like a research question to me. And then you say it seeks to identify the nature of Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. That's another, sounds like another research question or research objective there, right? To investigate how China employs this. It sounds like another research question or research objective there, right? So you improve it further, but this is how I do it, Samir. It's better that you do it and then we make improvement and then you improve it further, right? Rather than we talk, you know, all is air, and nothing happens. Once we have something like this, we can improve, right? It's better to move and improve, rather than being static and contemplate and get into this analysis paralysis. Here, I can give my comment straight away because we have produced something. I can give my comment, right? So you got the essence of what I'm telling you about the statement of problem. You have questions?
No, good.
Okay, good. So right, we will have other presentations. So we will. So you will see how my feedback and how your friends work might be relevant to your own work as well. Yeah. So this is the thing that we do, group supervision. I'm not sure who is you got to turn. I hear an echo from somebody here. And if you just make sure you're muted, yeah, turn mute so that there's no echo. Okay, let's move to the next slide there, Samir. Okay, research questions. The main problem of the study stems from a main question, right? How important is the Middle East to China, and what are China's interests and goals in the Middle East? What is the impact of Belt and Road diplomacy, i.e. the diplomacy of the Silk Road, Chinese foreign policy? Okay, we will go back to the general statement, right? We will go to the 3 questions first. We will deliberate on your general statement up there later on. We'll focus on the 3 questions you have first. The first question you have is what is the Silk Road and how did the Belt and Road Initiative become the new expression of historical Silk Road, and how did it become an expression of the new Silk Road? What is it is geographical scope, right? You have a number of questions there, but let me go to the substantive part of this question, right? Your question is a historical question, basically, right? Your question is a historical question. So I make note of that. That itself can be a PhD thesis. Do you want do you want to study it as a historical research, or do you want to make the historical part just at the background of your research? Right? You got to make that decision. If you put a research question, you put question number 1 there. You will have findings. The findings will say all these my findings, like all these pages of my findings, and will answer my research question number 1. Right? So if you do not have your findings, then you cannot answer research question number 1. And that's it. I'm saying that your research question number 1 is a big question, right? You're saying that how did it become an expression of a new Silk Road? And then you say new expression of historic, it become the new expression of the belt. So here you're tracing the history of the new Silk Road. Am I right, Samir? Is that
Yes.
what you're saying? Are you aiming to see how the new Silk Road emerged? Is that what you want to study with this research question?
How?
So you say that how did the BRI become a new expression of historical Silk Road, right? So you want to study the process, you want to study the events that lead to that, so you need to have clarity in that. That's the question I'm asking you. What do you want to study with this question? What are you looking for? Samir, okay, you're thinking.
With what is the Silk Road and how did the build and what? I think in this question,
Okay, while you're thinking, let me ask you the question that it might help you, right? The main thing that you want to study is the main thing you want to study is the impact of the BRI on the three countries, the three countries that you want to study. Am I right? Samir, is that right? You want to study the impact, right?
I tell you, look, bro, I tell you, this topic, I'm still,
You're still not sure.
I don't have a clear vision.
All right.
Actually,
okay.
I will try before 2 days. I will try to make, to put any clear vision. I think I make big mistakes because I add some question, I delete some question. I make big problem, I think.
No, Samir, it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. This is good. What you have here, when you have your thought expressed into words and you write it down, you'll get results, right? It might not be the result that you want. So this is the process. This is not a mistake. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. We are just discussing.
Maybe I'm still nervous. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what the. I will try to make it my thesis in the. I don't make any mistake. That's
Okay.
what,
You won't have a perfect research question right now on your first presentation. Don't worry about it. So right now we are discussing it. Okay. Let's go to your. So you understand my point now. If you go for your research question number 1, or you make that as your research question, then you need to show how the development of the new Silk Road as a foreign policy of China. So how did Xi Jinping and his team, or the foreign office and all that, how they develop the Belt and Road Initiative, right? Don't forget the Belt and Road Initiative. There's two parts, right? One is the land, the other one is the sea, right? There's two parts, so it's not just one. So you can study that as a research question, or you can study that as part of your background of research. So if you do a background of research, then that's not the main focus of your research, right? The main focus is not how China developed the new Silk Road or the Belt and Road Initiative, but you are looking at the presence of Belt and Road Initiative in the Middle East, right? So you can do that. I'm going to give you some options to think about. Let's move to the next one, yeah? How does China use the Belt and Road Initiative as an economic policy in its general quest to expand its international and global influence? This is something you can study. This is something you can study. This is something you can access. This is, I can see the viability, the practicality of this question, right? So you can see uh, you can look at several countries if you want, right? And you say, what are the actions? What are the plans? What are the initiatives? What are the engagement of China with these countries? You can look at that. And you can look at what are the responses of these countries, right? The political, economic, social responses of these countries to this the China Belt and Road Initiative. You can look at that. And in that, you can talk about it as an impact or as a phenomena, as an international relations phenomena. So you have more space and more practical access to data in question number 2, which might be your interest, because you can look at how China engages certain countries, right? And then there's literature, there's newspapers, there's statements, there's reports, there's workshops to access, right? If you're looking at from a political economic point of view, from an international relations point of view, you can access that, right? My thought is you take that question number 2, right, as your main research question, right? But this is only my suggestion. Remember, this is your research, not my research. Right? It must be something that you want to do, not what I want to do. Right? It must be something that you want to do. As far as the research questions are concerned, I do think that that number 2 is the most viable. Now let's look at number 3. Let's look at number 3. What is the impact of Silk Road diplomacy as an economic diplomacy on China's foreign policies and its international political stances? Okay, this is like what we call a double or triple barrel question. You're asking a lot of questions in one question here, right? So I think the main concern here you have is the international political stances, right? You talk about how, am I right? Or what's your what is it that you're interested in? Question number 3.
Two question.
Yeah.
No, maybe I can. Maybe what's the impact of Silk Road diplomacy as on China on China's foreign policy? No, on international political stances. And fee two question.
Okay.
There are 2 questions.
So okay. Remember what I said about question number 2 just now? Question number 2 is about China's engagement, right? With you could phrase what you know how how does China engage comparatively within these 3 countries, right? So the engagement, you can use different words, right? Or diplomacy, you can use that word with this country under the umbrella of Belt and Road Initiative. So under this umbrella, part of that is also China's foreign policy vis-a-vis political intervention and political stances, right? China, unlike US, has been the intervene just about in any country they can, right? So I'm a bit biased, of course. China has a different approach to political intervention, to a conflict between countries. So that is actually part of their foreign policy, right? It's part of the foreign policy. So if you have one question, and then you can break it up, the question. So the general question is the if you look at Belt and Road Initiative as the umbrella uh, global strategy or foreign policy of China, right? And you're looking at that in terms of its engagement with certain countries, right? And then you can make that into the main question and you break it up into sub questions. You can do that, right? So the sub question can be about the conflict, the Palestinian Israeli conflict, right? You can talk about that. You can talk about other things. In Saudi, there's another conflict there, Saudi Yemen, right? There's a lot of killings happening in Yemen there, right? So it's the conflict, right? So and then there are quite a number of conflicts here and there, by the way. Qatar is another conflict. Saudi and Qatar had some problem last time, but now it has kind of normalized, right? So how does China fit into this dynamics? You want to look at that as well, if you're interested, of course, right? So you take the Belt and Road Initiative as the main one, and you look at the engagement with the countries as the way to go. I think you have. I think some of your friends might have some inputs here. They might share their thoughts as well. So I welcome if I think maybe those who are aware of the situation in the Middle East, maybe our Muhammad or Tandis from Iran might have some views. Mutadi from Iraq might have some views
Yes,
also. Or
yes, yes,
Muzakir, as well. Anyone else have a view?
yes, Dr. Muhammad, I with you now. I want to add something
Go ahead.
because this because this title is
Sorry,
important.
Mutadi, before you come in, we do have 4 or 5 of your friends from China. So, they can give you a China perspective
Okay.
as well. Don't forget that, which is a great perspective. And BRI is relevant to basically all of us right now. So it's such a powerful foreign policy, an alternative paradigm to the American paradigm, right? Or Eurocentric paradigm, whatever you call it, the white paradigm. Okay, go ahead, Mutadi.
Yes, yes, Doctor. This topic is very important actually because according to this question, the first one question, the Silk Road is very ancient road about history, especially when the Khalifa Abbasiya in that time exist. Chinese. Marched with the Khalifa Abbasiya and with the church in that time, Urban by this is road. So and then this is road dead. Why dead? Because China back his economy in that time. Now China grow up step by step, and China now conflict with America about the force, about the rule the world. Why? Because China now have big, strong economy. Now China need to grow up this route about by new situation, by new economy. Because of for this reason, China need make good relationship in the Middle East. Why? Because this is route pass in the Middle East, especially now in Iraq. We have big conflict between America and China about Iraq. Why? Because the Silk Road pass in Iraq, inside Iraq, from the Gulf to the north, to Turkey, to Europe. But the Iraq now is very important. For this reason, China and America conflict about Iraq, especially when the America forces, America military withdraw from Afghanistan, some politicians say that that's because of Silk Road. America need conflict with China in this situation. America don't need China grow up this road. Why? If the China become big force and rule the world, this is impact in the Middle East, especially in Israel, especially in the Saudi Arabia or Qatar. Why? Why? Because China near to the countries in the Middle East, for example, Iran, near to Iran, close to Iran, close to the North Korea, close to the Russia, like this. This is maybe we will change the map rule. So for this reason, I think Samer need to search about this economic diplomacy and international political stances. All this will change in the future if the China will success in this route and let his goods go to the Europe or to America.
Yes, yes. Yeah, very good point there about there's another actor in here, right? Which is America, right? America is everywhere, so that's also another contextualization that you want to include in your discussion, yeah. And then there's a big player there, so in a way you can look at this as an alternative or contesting paradigm of global development.
Yes,
global, yeah.
I see Samer confused a little bit about this question. I think yes, but this question is very clear. Just he need to how can answer to this question step by step about collect data or yes or like this.
Yes. So go ahead. Mutadi, you have something else to say?
Question: if the China become play balance in the Middle East, Qatar, but Arabia Saudi not like Qatar. I talk about the foreign policy, and also Israel support by Europe and America, not support by China. What will happen in the Israel in the future if the China become big force equal with America? This is yes. This is for this reason I say the map world will change.
Yes. The
Yes.
geostrategic map will change.
Excuse me, Professor.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, this is Muhammad.
Yeah, Muhammad. Yeah, please come in.
I think Motadi is right. The Silk Road is important. We know the Silk Road is the first time the cultural Silk Road and the economic Silk Road. But now the Israel is before told Muhtadi by the Europe and the America. I think that China have a conflict with the US and America in the economic situation. I think Muhtadi is told right.
Yes.
The problem is this. The economic is now between the China and the US is the conflict between these two countries.
Yes. Yeah. So, and if you look at countries who want to be friends with both, right? Sometimes felt that they are trapped in between. And a lot of Southeast Asian countries fall into that category, I guess. So that'd be something to look at as well. So that said, Samir, you also might want to look at the the big players in the Middle East, of course, right? Saudi is a big player, but then we have the Turkey is another big player there as well, right? Turkey's influence is, I mean, one of the strengths of Qatar is just become an ally of Turkey as well. So we have a very strong, good dynamic of a lot of things going on in Middle East there. Okay. Let me. Anyone else have a different perspective, or you want to strengthen further your thoughts?
Dr. Ravali, Pravina here. Just want to
Okay,
ask you.
Pravina. Yes, good, good. Pravina. Welcome back. Do you have
Well,
enough sleep, Pravina?
yes, I do. I always
Yeah.
do.
Good, good, good.
Okay. I just want to ask you because the Silk Road is also related to India's planning. So whatever this India's policies comes up with, you can see sometimes China would back it up, or they would have another counter policy. It's like they are friends and enemy. If you
Yeah.
look at the Asian development banks, they have very good talks. I normally follow up Asian development banks chapter for my research as well. So if you look at it, sometimes the Silk Road between China and India also been a crucial point that affects the economic and the development of the Middle East. Would it be okay to have one a small portions of India's influence or something like that, so that you don't miss the overall Silk Road presentation? Like, because India do have a huge role comes to Silk Road, and encountering or being friend to China. They do play a two-faced kind of devil advocate. Sometimes they do support the US, and sometimes they do support the China. So they are always in the middle. Do you think that taking their role into the considerations would actually broaden up and gives a different perspective? This is just a question, not a mandatory thing to your research. Thank you.
Samir, you want to answer that?
Yeah.
India's role. Samir? Oh, Samir. That's a nice one.
So I will give comments, sir. Could I?
You can, but Samir is not around. Hello, Samir. Are you there?
Hello?
Samir?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, you're here. They're there.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, go ahead. All right. Muzakir.
Yes. About the Silk Road related to the India and China, it is very complicated. Also related with the Turkey and in Middle East, of course. As we know that maybe several months, maybe there is a tension between India and China. Also, there is also the not only tension, but some of the in the border there is clash also. In certain fields, the Pakistan also has the strong relationship with the China. So it's not like we it's very complicated. Yeah, as we know that. If we Silk Road related with the South Asia. South Asia is very complicated also. How we know that the Pakistan also has the close relationship with China, because why? Because US they give what you call the embargo, maybe embargo to Pakistan. So they try to to create the especially military relationship. And this like what I would say that is that the contestation India and Pakistan also has the implication also how the China position. Of course, Pakistan tend to be close with the China, because as you know India close to to US in this area. So yeah, we could not to make sure the relation, the how the state in in all of the matter the diplomacy. I would say that in what the field they they make the cooperation. For example, yeah, we know that Turkey, like Prof Rifani also talked that Turkey has the key player also in the Middle East. We could not deny. We could not deny it. How the Turkey has the when the conflict between the Qatar and several Gulf countries, Arab Saudi, and then the Bahrain, and then UEA, and then Turkey directly, help the Qatar. Previously, also when there is the what you call the Trump give the embargo, also Qatar directly also to help the Turkey. So it's not the in this situation in the level of the state. In the level of I don't know exactly what might be in Indonesia. Samir might be if 3 countries, so it is very very huge. Maybe it's okay, but maybe in certain degree maybe need to more focus on. In my opinion, maybe just one country could be more. I would say that's more easy for doing research if we compare to 3 countries. So I think very huge. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It don't have to be a comparative. Can you just touch a small part so that people will be like, oh, okay, why he's not touching on India and Pakistan? Because that's only my point of view. Just a small portion why we did not, because when I look at the whole thing, there was not contributions of India and Pakistan, so it gives me a trigger why you're not touching on it. So I'm just very curious. So that's why, is it possible? Or Dr. Revani, I don't know whether it's right or wrong.
Oh, no, it's Samir has to answer this. See, Samir, this is not even your oral defense yet, right? It's not your Bible yet. So go ahead and answer Samir your thoughts.
Revem?
Pravina.
Brivina.
Pravina is.
Hi, Samir. So sorry,
Hi.
We
Samir.
can all turn on our video so that we can see each other too. It's like sometimes I feel I'm talking alone.
So sorry, Samir. I didn't mean to be difficult, but I'm just asking you, would it be okay for you to put into India and also Pakistan, because these are the people who plays a very crucial role in Silk Road. So if you move them away, like people like me who don't understand it would ask you, why didn't you put India, Pakistan's, and now with the emergence of Sri Lanka, which Chinese has a big influence on. So why is this South Asia countries are not included? Because they are also becoming an big economic power. So would it be okay for you to discuss a bit of the role of these countries and just say that you're not looking into it because of so and so and so, so that people who have this thought will be automatically answered and they would not ask you this question? So sorry, Samir, I'm just asking you. It could be right and it could be very wrong. It's just your opinion.
Yeah, thank you, Brivina. I think maybe if I take just Qatar, it's enough, or Saudi Arabia, because I can't. So just Pakistan and Iran and Sri Lanka. I know I can. Maybe Qatar enough.
Yeah. But there's a lot of interest in BRR, so it's very, very important thing that you're studying there, Samir. So what happens is, I think Pravina has raised some important perspective, which is what, and that is the Belt and Road Initiative is huge, and there's a lot of stakeholders in there, and then so how do you carve, how do you cut, how do you slice your research to say, look, I'm studying this research. This is my scope, right? The rest will be in my literature review. The rest will be in my background. So that's why the research question is very important. Otherwise, you'll be answering too many questions, and when it comes to Viva, then the examiner sometimes will say, look, how come you did not look at this? How come you did not look at that? So the research questions will be the one that will hold you like the compass. Look, my research is about this. The reason I focus on this, I give my justification as a conceptual gap or theoretical gap. I just have discussed in the problem statement. So this is where it's important to be able to talk about it. And like what Muzakir was raising just now as well, like the Middle East, the Middle East as a political, economic, social space has many different dynamics, and it's not just BRI, right? It's also about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's also about American influence. It's also about what Muhtadi was talking, the Abbasiyah Empire going in, the Iraq connection there, right? So you might want to be able to talk about all those things, right? To demonstrate, what are the important things you want to highlight, and then you just focus on that. And as far as BRI is concerned, what you also might want to demonstrate is that you are aware of the dynamics. You're aware of what's happening, right? And you want to demonstrate that in your thesis. And sometimes to demonstrate in your thesis is to put footnote and endnote in your literature review, or in your discussion, or in your background, or in your findings. You can put that in the footnote and endnote, right? So in the endnote and footnote, by the way, endnote and footnote, this is true for all of you. Yeah, endnote and footnote doesn't mean a one-liner. It's just not one line. A good endnote can be a one paragraph. Right? So sometimes you want to recognize, you want to show that there's something here that's important, but it's not within the scope of my study, but it's very important, and I understand this, and there's a literature on this one, or somebody has written something that is very important and is relevant to my study, but it's outside of the scope of my study, right? So Samir, you get the gist of what I'm saying here. So PhD is, there's one is about getting the degree, the other one is becoming a scholar, right? So you're moving towards becoming a scholar of BRI, right? So you need to demonstrate that certain things about BRI that you must know, should know, could know. So the must know, you must know. The should know, you can demonstrate it in your footnote, your endnote, right? And the could know is to say, wow, there's a connection between Marco Polo and the Silk Road, and then but that there's a connection between spaghetti and the Chinese me, then you can talk about that as well. That's part of the Silk Road narrative as well.
Yeah.
Jay, I see Jay coming in there, Jay. Is that you, Jay? I almost can't recognize you with the beard and mustache.
Oh, thank you.
You want to say something, it seems? You have something here in the chat. Go ahead.
I added something to the chat so that it's very clear.
Yeah.
Well, it's clear to me anyway. So I just wanted to share it. Maybe I just leave you to kind of read it and consider it. That's really all I wanted to say.
Yeah. This is very poignant, by the way. What Jay is highlighting is also about making the research much more focused, Samir. And I think you're moving towards that as well. Maybe you might realize that, or you want to. It depends on how deep you want to go, right? It says you want to go breadth or depth. Maybe you want to focus just on Qatar alone. There's already plenty there, right? And what Jay is highlighting, which is good, because the BRI has actually shaped a lot of countries' foreign policies, right? And there's, of course, there's critique of the BRI too, right? And the China is coming in with these soft loans as easy way out for a lot of countries. They can just take this loan, but it's almost like buying a new car. No, what's this? No down payment and easy monthly payment. But in the end, you get people in debt. So these are the criticism of Belt and Road Initiative. You see, Indonesia is embarking into a huge infrastructure development. Partly is coming from China. The money is coming from China, but there's the issue of debt and all that. So you want to balance all that. So this is China represents more than just a country in this case. China represents investment, economic investment. And unlike United States, China is what some would argue as a state capitalism. Right? United States have all these MNCs, right? MNCs make their own decision, but China has political will that's superior to most, or if not all, countries in the world. I think, right? When the Chinese government say you do this to the people, right? So just like how they ban, they shape the social media and all that. So I think these are the good questions that you want to look at. It's in the chat, yeah, Samir. Can look at the
Yeah, I
chat.
see it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, many suggestion. I don't know what happened now. What I can do now? Well, actually,
That's good. That's
many
good.
suggestion.
Confusion is the beginning of knowledge. But see, what happens is if you have research questions at the beginning, you can fine tune your research question. Okay. Yeah, you can fine tune your research question.
I will try to write. Before this meeting, I have the vision. Now I don't have anything. Actually,
You will enter the realm of Sufism.
suggestion, but this suggestion opened my mind.
Yeah.
Not,
Okay. Go ahead, Jay. You want to say something to Jay?
Thank you. Samir, don't, I mean, just if I may, so please don't be put off or nervous about this, because all journeys begin with trying to find out where you are. You have to try to locate yourself on the map, and then it's to see which direction do you want to go to. Where is it that, are you traveling to Beijing or to Qatar? And then you can begin the journey. From your presentation, I understood what you were really interested in is the impact of this and how it changes the way in which people within, again, let's avoid the Middle East, maybe we call it whatever you want, the Arab world, however you want to describe it. What is the impact of politics, culture, societies, development? I mean, what is it that you're looking for? You're looking for the change that will come about in these countries as a result of Chinese interest and intervention in these countries. So my approach, just my thought, is to start with the particular, make the observations, and then work up big. If it is a port or it is a new oil and gas pipeline that connects different countries, and then work back. Who is involved in this? Is it a joint venture between China and the US? And then, that might change your entire view about what is the influence of this. Actually, it is about big companies joining together. This is not about the politics within the sense of intergovernmental relationships, but it's actually about businesses getting together to dominate the economics of the region. When oil is a declining resource and people are moving away to other resources. Yeah. So there are many questions here. So my instinctive, and this is the last thing really I want to say, is to start with the particulars in the country that you're looking at and maybe then to build up the theory. You already have some idea that this is an area which is very important to look at. But how do you connect the two things, the impact and what are the drivers to making that impact? Is it economics? Is it resources? Which is about the same thing. Is it the politics? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Very insightful there, Jay. Good. Samir, are you okay? I do.
No, I'm okay. No, I'm okay.
I do think it's good advice to my thought at this point, yeah, but then you will need to decide yourself. You advise to you know, be much more focused. Maybe you want to start with Qatar first, right? And then and since you're in Qatar, and my thought is that there's issues of access to data. So if you want to do comparative study, you want to have compatible set of data too, right? So you get talk about Israel as another case study. I'm not sure how accessible whatever you want to look for. Maybe if it's public records, it's a different thing. But if it's not public, then you might have some challenges there. Maybe you can start with Qatar first. But I do not want to limit your imagination of your research, right? So sometimes you want to have a different kind of research, go ahead. And sometimes limiting it to one particular country might not be what you're looking for. So you know, maybe you want to look at the if there's a kind of a paradigm shift in the Arab world, you know, and like Jay was saying, and then and then you might be able to see, well, look at the different foreign policies, different investment policies of these countries. You can come up with maybe 3 typologies of the countries in the Arab world. You know, one is aligned to China, the other one is much more aligned with US, the other one is we're not sure where we're going yet. The other one is if you want to exploit us, let's exploit them too. I know whatever this is. So with China, we talk differently. With America, we talk differently. With Israeli, we talk differently, right? That sounds more like Egypt to me. But you know, there are different countries. Maybe so. It depends on your interest as well. But the way I share the same view as Jay's view of what you plan to do. It seems that you're interested to see what the impact of it. So I would look at the impact as something that's somewhat different. That's A causes B. It's not necessarily A causes B. Sometimes you want to look at the whole development itself, right? So instead of talking about the impact, you can talk about the engagement, the process. You know? So that itself, it's a lot to say as well. That itself is a lot to say as well. Right. But I don't know whether you want to limit to one country or not. I would, but that's not necessarily what you want to do. But you got to decide then. And if you choose another country, you got to justify why you look at 2 countries, why you look at 3 countries. What do these countries signify? What do these countries represent? Are you comparing the 2 of the same thing, or are you comparing something that's different? If it's the same, you got to justify. If it's different, you got to justify as well, right? So I will leave it back to you. I think the clarity that you might arrive at this point is to eliminate certain parts of what you want to study and to be much more focused. Yes, I mean. But I don't know. Maybe we have. I would like to, if I could, I'd like to get some inputs from a more Chinese perspective. We have Kai Lai, we have Zhao Lei, we have Han Zhen, we have Min Qi, we have who else do we have here? Sun Hao. Do we have here? Oh, Sun Hao is not present. Okay. Do you have some thoughts? Or even a Malaysian perspective? Pravina has given a Malaysian perspective there, right? Or Chang, you want to say something?
No, at the moment, Prof.
No, Muhammad. Chang, man, you're studying the identity. Is there an identity issue here as well?
Yeah.
Identity issue?
But Prof, is it recorded?
Oh, you want to? Alah, tak payah takut lah. You know, my friend.
All right. Okay. I have some. Well. Right, Prof. If I look at actually from actually surplus value, when your internal reach a max, then you have to expand. When you have to expand, if go to IR dependency theory, it will develop a core and periphery. So the periphery itself will struggle. So I have an ASEAN identity perspective, and we ASEAN, I mean from IR theory, constructionalist theory, we are very struggle to maintain. We look at actually, I like to actually look at the borders. You will see the countries at the borders like Laos and Mekong River Commission, and we find that the whole Mekong River is impacted. So it contributes to the struggle in terms of resources, struggles, conflicts in terms of protein extraction of fish. Those are landlocked country. I mean, Laos is the landlocked country as well. So sometimes that the impact of the Silk Road, we are ASEAN, we are stuck in the middle. This is and I do not know whether that I want to use the word the core and periphery. Yeah, I mean Malaysia, ASEAN's compared to the Thailand and Indonesia, we are not considered as actually a strong state. Okay, of course you can argue that Singapore is a strong state lah. Okay, but for me, Qatar resources rich Arab countries, resources based country. Then you have something to a say in the international arena. That makes actually a strong point in terms of geopolitical strategy and also resources reach as a bargaining power when it comes to Belt and Road strategy, initiative. Okay, this is the first point. Second, Malaysia, we have a history of impact by the Marshall Plan. So, and go back to the theories of empires, rising of a superpower. The fascinating thing about history is it repeats. The things that in history is always a repeat. That's the facts in history. So any empires that rise will not actually come in the picture with peace. You see, it happens towards America, Imperial Japan, Germany, etc., etc. So, would it actually, as a citizen, as an identity in terms on I consider a small state. So, how we actually sustain to survive? That would be identity construction we have. So I do not know whether that what kind of impact that maybe you can talk about topology. So is it actually on the impact towards culture, the impact towards a better say in the international level, or resources, I think it is fine, and in the future it can be expand out like that. So yeah, just actually my suggestion, okay, and the things that I look at it. But I have a worry as a citizen of a small state, it will become a core and periphery. It happened to Marshall Plan. I don't know for this time, but our identity is as ASEAN, we are struggling for sustaining of our identity. So I look at the perspective of a constructionalist, how we actually deal with it in terms of the sustained identity. All right, I think that's it.
Good.
That's just my
Thank you,
head
Chang.
input.
Thank you, Chang. Chang has raised an very important point, and that is this, Samir, that you want to take note as well. There's a theoretical dimension to what your research is also about, right? So, how would you connect to the existing theories out there? If you're looking at political and economic theories, you want to note them. If you're talking about international relations theories, and want to note that. So what this, like Chang was talking about, was about the core and peripheral theory of international division of work, of labor. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at Wallerstein's theory. I'm looking at more resembling Fukuyama's theory about clash of civilizations. So the other civilization will come together. There's that be another theory to look at. So theory is an important part to understanding this. And a lot of contestation against the BIR is looking at BIR as a like what Chan was saying, as a cultural imperialism or economic imperialism. There's that impression of certain segments of the society in the various countries as well. So that is something that you might want to look at too. So this engagement of BRI, of China's BRI with Qatar or whatever country, does it resemble more of a core peripheral theory, or is it more of that? So that will be something that you can develop, or there's something else that is emerging, right, that cannot be explained by current existing theory, right? Because China approach is not so much as it states openly, that is, right? It's not a political approach, right? It's much more economic engagement. That said, does it stop there? Does it not stop there? So that you can talk about it. Or is it a core kind of core ownership kind of thing? So those things you could discuss, right? So it towards theory building at the end. You want to say something, Samir? It's like you want to say something.
Let me arrange my information.
All right, good, okay. This is good. It's fun. So
let me arrange my information, because there are many suggestions. All the suggestion is very good, and we should be arrange my information to, and I send it for you to give me okay or not okay. That's what I can do.
All right. Before we adjourn to the next one, is there anyone else who would like to share your thoughts, your take on the BIR? Oh, by the way, let me ask our Chinese candidates, our Chinese friends. Are there a lot of talk about BRI in China? Hansen,
Zhang Kaili comment in chat, sir.
Oh, Kai Lai, okay.
Kaili comment.
Okay. Go ahead, Kai Lai. You don't have to wait until I ask you. 开来欢进来进来快来 come 开来 go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
can you hear me?
Okay, welcome you.
Yes,
This is
I'm watching part all the time, and in fact, I have some questions. The first one is, what you want to focus on? I know there are so many issues about the impact, especially in the relationship between the two big areas. It's my first question. What's your interest focus on? The second is a suggestion that I believe that maybe you can provide some literature review first. I mean the data from the current research that the people did in the first. So, so is that is my words clearly?
Samir, you hear that?
So, and by the way, if you have some question about China, the Chinese attitude, I'm free to talk with you.
Great.
Thank you, Carla. Yeah,
So, okay, that's all.
okay. The, 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 there's one thing. It's interesting, like Samuel, because this represents almost a new phase in international politics. The BIR represent a new phase, right?
Oh,
Right, it's a new phase, a new era, rather. Okay, but we. IBM has this motto. IBM, right? The computer company. IBM says, "World peace through world trade." World peace through world trade. So IBM's motto, or their own slogan, or is a fake or real slogan, I'm not sure whether they believe or not. They believe that through world trade we can achieve world peace. Right. So maybe BRI can be seen from that point of view as well, right? That's it. There's a lot of things that Samir we want to take into account. Kaila has offered his door for you to open and have a discussion if you want to, because he will have some access to literature in China, perhaps, yeah. And the what Chang is now. Chang is from Malaysia. He speaks from the perspective of a small nation perspective. And by the way, what Chang was saying is that even he was saying about Malaysia, but and Singapore being a strong country, even Singapore is showing anxiety. Singapore says, look, let's be clear, we do not want US and China to fight, right? And that's bad for us too. Singapore was saying that, right? I was actually in Singapore like 1 or 2 years ago, and I remember the ministers were talking about this. That we don't want China and US to fight, and that's true for a lot of small countries. We do not want that. We have to take sides, and it's difficult.
We become a meat in a burger.
And meat and burger is the best part. That's the best part. You become squeezed by two giants that you do not want to be squeezed. The meat and burger is the fast-paced part lah. Okay, I think we will adjourn. Sami, you want to say something first before we adjourn?
Just thank you all, and I take many information, and thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Samir. Let's. We will take a 3-minute break or so. We'll come back. I hope that the rest of you could also turn on your videos so that we can also see each other. And then I will continue. There'll be a couple of things that I want to say about beginning the journey. So we'll take a short break, a 3-minute break. We started at 9:30 just now. Now it's 11:16. So 1 hour and 45 minutes there. Oh, that's your daughter, yes, Samir. I can see your daughter there.